the building. If you hear this, you already tuned in.
Truth be undisclosure. We break that silence over. Hands up on our shoulder to shoulder. They can't hide this takeover. Truth be undisclosure. Rumors in the sky get closer. As the next wave we flip the cover.
Coley got the world on hover. Yo, I was 10 when I saw that flash. Silver disc cut clean through the overcast. Mama said, boy, that's just a plane. But the thing did a right angle, drifted, vanished in the rain. Late night flipping dials on the crack deck. Calling show folks, needed looking better than farm field. Circles in a wheat row. Others every truck's on the black dark dirt road. Black suits, black shades, move quiet. Tell you where the balloon if you riot. Classified stamp on the radar blip. But the tape got out, now it's all on the clip. Files in the basement, they got deadlines. Whole page black, but the truth still shines. If it's nothing, why they guard that folder? Now everybody listening over their shoulder.
Hush, hush, but the ground keeps shaking. Night sky lit and your phone keeps waiting. They say stand down, but the crowd's way bolder. Turn that dial, feel the signal get colder there. Truth be undisclosure. We break that silence over. Hands up by your shoulder to shoulder. They can't hide this takeover. Truth be undisclosure.
Lights in the sky get closer. SNX wave, we flip that cover. Coley got the world on hover.
Yeah, late shift out back on a smoke break. Saw three lights glide and freeze and rotate. No sound, but my heart went drum, drum. Next blink, 1 inches from the loading dock door. I'm face to face with a long black pupil. Time slowed down, every hair stood mutual. Thought I screamed, but we talked in flashes. Images, maps, burning through the lashes. Then they showed me cities, oceans, endings. Then a clean ring with a brand new sending. Said we've been knocking, you've been blind. Your leader signed checks, then erase your minds. Boards in the sky with the logos off. Secret crews take notes when the engines cough. Lights in the security, same old script. But they scrub that footage from your nightly clips.
Too many eyes, you can't just blame weather. Too many nights with that bright, strange tether. We feel that hump, that invisible motor. Coley on the mic, bring the wave in closer.
Truth be undisclosure. We break that silence over. Hands up high to shoulder to shoulder. Wake your eyes, take over. Truth be undisclosure.
The lights in the sky get closer. SNX wave, we flip that cover. Coley got the world on hover.
Who's got questions?
We got questions,
Who wants answers?
real confessions.
Who see lights when the night gets colder? Crowd chant loud. Truth be undisclosure.
It's all that glow, put your hand up high. If you lost 2 hours, never knew quite why. If your dash cam caught that impossible turn, now the world tuned in, let the whole thing burn.
Truth be undisclosure. We break that silence over. Hands up high to shoulder to shoulder. They can't hide this takeover. Truth be undisclosure.
The lights in the sky get closer. SNX wave, we flip.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of SNX Radio. I'm Coley, also known as Coleyufo, and it's so nice to see everybody here already. I saw the chat was starting to hop, so that's awesome. We have an amazing guest tonight, as you guys know. I just want to run through and say hello to everyone. So Blazer, as always, thanks for being here and doing your job with that wrench. You're amazing. Moon, always great to see you and welcome. Patricia, hello. Hello. Carl Sup is in the house. Let's see. DLB, nice to see you. And let me see who else. I know I saw a bunch of other people. True Lewis, Night Poncho. Hey, it's great to have you back. I don't know if you had to work or whatever you got going on. We got Lolo, nice to see you and welcome. And we have, Mickey, nice to see you. Thank you so much for posting in your group too. I appreciate that. If you guys have not, go over to Mickey's channel. She's got a great channel and definitely subscribe to her. Let me see who else I saw here. Let's see, Tina Lewis, nice to see you. Welcome, Magneticus, always. Hillbilly Herb, hey. Gosh, there's so many I'm going through. So AZO, AZ, and everybody else, if I missed you, I promise I'll definitely make it up to you. But I do want to get going with our guest for tonight. As you know, Sean Austin, he is, if you've ever seen Netflix, 28 Days Haunted, he's a lead investigator and demonologist. He brings his S.P.I. spirit tech. So what that is excuse me, he has like a device that he'll tell you more about it, but I believe it's like an EVP device that he has. So it's pretty cool. And he's also, like I said, he's about everywhere, anywhere. He's definitely very cool. We're going to bring him on and let Sean tell you a little bit more about himself. There we go. And I don't know where we. All right, welcome.
Hey, welcome.
You able to hear me? Yeah. No, I just wanted to know if you go into a little bit about who you are and for people that don't know you and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a demonologist, paranormal researcher, and medium author. I've been doing the paranormal for, it'll be 17 years soon that I've been doing this strange, crazy world, and it's my passion, and it's definitely changed my life. And yeah, I'm very busy with it, and my main intentions are to bring spiritual awareness to the reality of these things and try to help people living and also maybe that are still earthbound needing some sort of assistance in that process.
That's amazing. So what is your take on it, like what they are or what they need? I know you said a lot of times they get stuck between both worlds, but dealing with the demonology side of it, that is fascinating. And we've had other people before. I mean, that's intense right there. How did you get involved in all that?
Well, I believe when I first got involved in the paranormal, I started to read books on demonology because it's fascinating and it was the most taboo corner of the paranormal because it would also associate the most extreme type of activity with demonic type of activity. So I would, the first book I ever read was The Demonologist by Ed and Lorraine Warren. And then, John Zaffis is one of his books. And then like Ralph Sarchi's book, which was Beware the Night, ended up becoming the inspiration for the movie 2014 film Deliver Us from Evil with Eric Bana. And I was just dousing myself and absorbing and having a lot of experiences very quickly that actually in the process triggered some sort of spiritual awakening, that realizing that I would, had some sort of sensitivity to the spirit world because my experiences were skipping spiritual pay grades, so to speak, along the way. And it just things kind of, naturally, organically progressed from there. Going on podcasts and being on my first TV show as an investigator for Ralph Sarchi, and then traveling around the country, publishing my first book about my experiences, and then getting on other TV shows for Discovery and then Netflix. And my second book it's been a whirlwind, a crazy ride. It's definitely changed my life very much so. I would say that my life is paranormal. I mean, the paranormal is my normal. It's a part of my everyday life. You're never going to find out all the answers, but every single day there seems to be, something potentially new and interesting that you try to understand and use those experiences to help others with it.
Absolutely. And I don't know, I found like when I started to, that's awesome that you went through the spiritual awakening because that's painful. That is very painful. But I just, when I started, I guess I was really young, like 4, and I remember seeing auras around people and it just kept evolving. And I think that it's like a huge part. You can't, like, once that's a part of your life, you're right. And just like UFOs now are a big part of mine too, but I grew up that paranormal is every day. It's not like you get to shut off from that.
No, it's kind of like you're just a radio station and you're just picking up things like an antenna constantly 24 hours a day on and off. Especially as heavily involved as I am in the paranormal, and also I believe the part of my genuine intention of how I approach the paranormal and wanting to help people, and including souls, and offering prayers and opportunities to try and give assistance, provide assistance somehow to have these human souls that are stuck go into the light and transition to where they should have before becoming the recipe of what we call them as ghosts. And I get a lot of activity around me because of that intention and those actions that I do on these investigations, how I approach it.
That's so true. That is so true. That was one of the biggest things I had to learn how to control, was how to take time away. Because once it's like all of a sudden their sense of urgency is like amped up, and they don't, sometimes they can be just relentless, like on trying to get their message across. I mean, it's that important to them, which I understand. But how do you like keep energized, and, how do you stay through? Because you're doing some intense work. And I just remember, I think it was Steve Mara that said, I was so close to going in that room with them when they were going through and doing like an exorcist. He's like, but then it would have known my name. And he was just like, he said he just never crossed that line. Like, have you been in there, like around things like that before? I guess, and what have you seen that?
Are you talking like an exorcism on a...
Yeah, or if you're like getting into like the demon side of it, have you ever seen anything like that intense? Or...
I never have assisted on a legitimate, being there in person of a solemn exorcism, which would be on a person. But I can perform an exorcism ritual on a location that I would consider to be a genuine demonic infestation, where I would believe truly that an inhuman spirit is infesting the environment, has permission to do that. But a traditional Catholic priest would have to, take care of that sort of thing. I did deal with one possession that I was helping a girl, trying to help a girl, while I was learning about demonology, and still learning at that time, where I was just, and it was a very tragic, harrowing story. I mean, the girl was pregnant, and she had messed around with black magic and dripped blood on a pentagram, and she was possessed while she was pregnant. She was HARMING, put an upside down cross on her pregnant belly with a screwdriver, to speaking English backwards to me, to calling me all the time, and I'd have activity myself, and all sorts of just really wild movie-like things that I would experience. Say for instance, that was
that's crazy. So she's talking backwards being very strong to you? Oh, sorry. I just wanted to stop you real quick.
She was saying on the phone, but I started
Okay, you're just kind of cut out.
I was
a minute.
Trying to understand what she was saying. Okay. I was trying to understand what she was saying in these phone calls, so I started to document all the evidence, and in case I could use that to give it to someone to help her. But no one wanted to touch the case with a 10-foot pole, because if something happened to the child, someone could be held responsible, which also was the same principle for the exorcism of Emily Rhodes, which was based on Annalise and what happened with her, because they tried to charge the priest and the family with negligent homicide, because the girl ended up starving herself until she passed. But I started documenting, and then I couldn't understand what she's saying, and I put it reverse on the computer, and she was speaking sentences in backwards, referencing
oh my God
stuff. One night she was on the phone with me, and she talked like a man, something right out of the movies, like, Sean, she's mine, and I'm praying for her over the phone, and I had a crucifix like 6 inches long, and she cannot see me on the phone. And as soon as I put the cross up to the phone, she hissed at me. It's just like one of those things you just, you can't explain. But, when you have instances like that, which I've had throughout my journey in the paranormal, where things that are evil react negatively of things of religious significance, that's why my faith is as strong as it is to this present day. And why I use that for my protection in all the cases that I go to that are legitimate, and going up against evil things, and trying to help people along the way.
That's a lot. That is intense. Have you had anything, attach itself? I'm sure you could. How could you not avoid, you kind of going into some pretty extreme places?
many years ago, someone coerced me to play with the Ouija board, and I got oppressed by an evil spirit. It's not a walk in a park. I'd say it's the most delicate nature of the paranormal. The dangers of the paranormal is going on to these investigations. All investigators take some sort of, level of risk when they involve themselves in the world of the paranormal. And I've always references the term as kind of like a spiritual rules of engagement. Once you kind of walk into the turf of these things and you decide to use your free will to engage souls in the spirit world, there's many diversified opportunistic types of entities that will come and try to take advantage of the situation. Ones that are desperate, things that are sad, things that are angry. There were bad people in life, or it could be something worse, like an actual inhuman spirit who can disguise their selves and as your loved ones or familiar voices, even your own voice, and then manipulate the situation and amplify any sort of negative emotion a human being can have, whether it be depression, sadness, anger, rage, ultimately where you would act out on that for yourself or onto somebody else. That's the most dangerous part of it all. But me throughout my journey learning about that and having a deeper understanding of how these things can influence you, you have to learn how to be objective about some of your emotions sometimes, especially if you're having a bad time in your life or something like that. These things know when you're going to have a bad time in your life blacked out on a calendar, and they'll take advantage of it, especially if they're very bold and want to retaliate against you. And I've made some enemies in some seriously dark places, and I've got a little few
Oh God.
piles.
Are you able to hear me? I don't know if it's
circling around me right now. I got to do an exorcism ritual on a place next week. That's been a really intense case. I have to and what happened the first time. So,
wow.
See, this is what happens when we talk about this stuff.
Are you okay? So I'm wondering if it's on your end or if it's on mine. Can you hear me? I can't tell. Hey, in the audience, can you hear me, Sean?
Is that me?
Okay, so he must have. I don't know. You guys, can you hear me? Okay, I'm just making sure it's not mine, but okay, yeah. So he must have just jumped out really quick. I heard him say, "Is this me?" And then so he must be. I'll just wait a couple minutes because I'm sure he'll be back in. But yes, what did you say, Blazer? Oh, here he is. Okay, let me add him back here.
Kind of weird time when we start talking about that stuff and just.
I know. I see. You know what was really weird before is I saw you were on a delay, and it's not. We're supposed to be synced up together, and so I was like, "Oh crap!" But I didn't know how to fix it other than me kicking myself out. So it did fix everything. So you sound good now. That's. Yeah. It's always when you're talking about this stuff. And two, I guess I hadn't realized, that they can electronics, like computer to computer, like I've heard of situations and scenarios even like that and them coming through. They always tamper with your electronics. Going back, I had a box that it was supposed to go to where Ed and Lorraine had Annabelle. When this is before the whole takeover, but it was this EMF. It was excuse me. It was let me think of what it was called, but it was this box that like a voltmeter. It was old. My friend brought it. He's like, I think this is going to start my house on fire. And he's like, it's haunted. And I thought it was the coolest thing. I got it, took it in. It blew every electronic. It was setting stuff off in the middle of the night. It was mad for whatever reason. Then it tried trapping my arm in the side of the car. And it was going back to the point it almost broke it. And I was trapped there for like 40 minutes. And I was like, I'm getting rid of this thing. So I sprayed it with holy water. It broke the crucifix, spun around this like middle center that it had, and the lid snapped off. And I'm like, what was that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I did not realize just how I've been places when stuff's flown, but I have never been trapped or been like, physically like come after like that. And it was insane. I can't imagine some of the encounters that you've had. What are some of the craziest like encounters that you've had like with these demonic spirits?
I've had quite a few.
I bet you have. Oh God, I can't imagine. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, being sensitive and being able to see these things and tap into them. There was something that really disturbing and unique. It was fascinating as much as it was unsettling that happened recently. I was investigating a battlefield, and I actually tapped into a demonic entity that I felt that was there with us, and I felt that it followed me from another location, and it looks like a goat. And I started to feel that this thing started to show me a young woman with brown hair. She's pale, looking in the mirror, and she decided to take something sharp and go up her arms,
Oh wow.
and it started to laugh like it was trying to show me something that it was responsible for. I felt intuitively. And the craziest part that after that is that it actually wanted to show me its hands. And on its hand, it had these golden rings, and it looked like they had occult symbols on it. And
Oh wow.
the impression that I got is that it was showing off trophies. They represented the demonic spirit's favorite victims that it accomplished, them doing the unthinkable. And I thought it was really like very disturbing, but also like again fascinating at the same time because I'd never seen anything like that before. But it almost reminded me of like the Predator movie, like where they had the lined up with the skulls, in the woods, like just trophies of its accomplishments. It was very tribal-esque in a way, but crazy and unsettling at the same time.
They weaken. I mean, like you said, if you have anytime I've gone and done a clearing, I always know that their relationship's in a mess. Their house is in a mess. Their family's in a mess. Everything's in a mess. Like it's not even
a feeding ground for negativity.
Mhm.
I mean, so negative spirits want to, have negative energy. So a place where it's you compare it to like chum or blood in the water, it's like what's that going to attract? Predators, and they want to feed off that stuff. But not only do they want to feed off humans, if you're dealing with a legitimate human spirit, they want to make an example out of every single one of us, because that was the main reason why they fought God over the creation of man, because they want to worship a creature that has no higher knowledge. So not only do they want us to suffer, they want to make that example. So when man gives up on life, they can say, look, God, this is why you shouldn't have created man. And it's why they hate us so much, because it's a reminder.
There is hatred.
Yes.
Pure hatred for there, and it runs across. I've said that before. There is something out there that has pure hatred for humanity.
Yep.
And you go to battle with that. And like you said before, an attachment. One time I had gone in and somebody opened my Akashic records and I had an attachment, and that thing came, it was baring its teeth at me. It took a lot, I'm not going to lie, to get that thing completely gone. And it was just like, I mean, it was just, and I thought I would never have a problem getting something to leave like that. But to think you've been through that with some pretty intense, I can't imagine what that was like to go through.
Some of these things are very bold and very relentless. If they feel like you have stepped in the way of their path and their mission, it's going to be, they're going to want to retaliate. And some of these things, they don't give up so easily. They're around for a while. Like I said, I got one thing from the place I'm going back to next week. I mean, it was, dude. I mean, it was bad. I went to some place that was once a bar, a biker hangout or something in South Carolina, and I knew nothing about the place, but they felt an ominous presence. And I mean, this is going to be an episode of Up Against Evil. It's probably the next episode I'm going to put out. But it was a couple. They're putting a business in there, and I felt this thing was really evil. I felt that it was responsible for people harming others and created anger in the situation. And the spirits were telling me that they're referring it to the dark man. I got responses of that. And this poor man went through this mental experience while I was actually, doing my walkthrough, and I didn't know what was going on. He got 3 huge claw marks on his back, and it reminded him of his PTSD from his past. And that story was just harrowing and crazy. And it was really trying to target him. And it actually told him, as soon as I pulled up, he had told me that he felt a chill around him, like it was targeting him. And obviously because of his past and what he had to endure it was going after him and trying to retaliate to the easiest victim, getting upset and agitated that they had brought me there for the chance of it losing its permission to infest the space. And this thing had actually followed me in all my travels in the last month, referencing saying it's the Dark Man ever since. And I do believe this thing has like a donkey's like face, and I've seen it. And it's come through and talks about the donkey. And this thing has come to me in my own bedroom. I had to bless my place. It's pissed off and it's trying to retaliate. It doesn't want to lose its permission to be in a space and wants people to harm each other. That's literally what it's doing. I hear it. And, that's the scary thing. These things can really influence you if they have permission or an opportunity to do so. And there is pure evil out there. I mean, there's some pure evil humans out there, but
there's some of them, but yeah, for sure. Definitely.
There is this spiritual pure evil that is definitely contributing and wanting these horrific things to happen in this world and against all of us, and each other. It's a scary reality, whether people believe it or not. And I know that, some people sit there and they, what's just strange to me is that some people scoff at like, oh, and religion and spirituality. What actually like perplexes me is that, wait, so if you don't want religion to be an element of the paranormal, but if you believe in spiritual beings, then what does that mean? That means that you have to believe in a higher power. And where does that lead to? You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah, I know it does not make sense at a certain point. I agree.
I don't judge anyone as a different belief system than I do. I do it my way. That's the way I believe it. Everyone can have their own method of doing it. And anyone wants to, see how I do things and be supportive of that and be engaging with that, then so be it. But that's how I do things.
Do you get a lot of that? I'm sure I get it. Like I'm sure across the line, it seems like there is, no matter, like as soon as you get past a certain amount of numbers, people just come at you, and then it's like they attack you for everything.
Yeah, especially since lately, I've been getting my posts been getting a lot of audiences. A lot of people have been seeing stuff, and again, so loads of just people, whether it's everything's a demon to just being cynical and disrespectful, about the paranormal. But there's always going to be people that don't believe in what you do. I think people are a lot more open to the paranormal than it was 30, 40 years ago. You'd have to look up in the yellow pages to find a parapsychologist that know
for real,
about something to be able to help you. And neighborhoods would run you out of the neighborhood with like pitchforks and torches, and churches wouldn't want to help you either. They just don't even know what's going on. So, I mean, more people are open to it, but it also comes with more ignorance too. You have to also disseminate who legitimately wants help and who's wanting to get attention, because, I've seen when I first was on TikTok for the first year, people would tag me in people's homes and they'd have what could be legitimate, I don't know. And like, you want me to give you advice? Do you want me to try to help you? Oh, sure, this and that. And all of a sudden they start posting videos and get millions of views, and then you don't hear from them anymore because they realize, oh, well, now I can actually, capitalize on this. And it wouldn't matter, if I turn their house into a church, if they don't have the subconscious will and intentions to get rid of what's in their house, there's nothing I could do. And then those things can retaliate against me because there's no conception of time in the spirit world. They actually know that they're going to win that battle, and then they're going to retaliate at the same time. So, you have to, really be careful of that too. But that's the environment that we live in right now, where it's like a materialistic element. Hollywood has melded into the paranormal because of social media and TV shows. So you see people going around doing it, and probably more of their desires are more on the materialistic side. But, if you're really truly a spiritual person, you have to take a step away. You have to have an audience to watch you and make a difference. And that's really what it is about for me. It's not about money. It's about legacy. I want to be able to leave behind some sort of legacy that is impactful, that is profoundly important somehow, that my predecessors that I respect in the paranormal community were able to do 10 or 15 years from now. It's not because of millions of views. It's because I want to do something that's positive in the spiritual element of that. And, there's a lot of people that are more worried about money and views. And of course, that's a component that you have to, have to be able to do this and spend all the time and effort to that. And that is
Oh
definitely a
yeah.
privilege. And that's an uphill battle for me too. I'm doing everything I can so I can spend all my time going to people's homes and helping people. And I don't even charge them. It's costly to go driving around all these places and, and just do this stuff. But I feel called to do that. But again,
That's amazing. I say
yeah,
the same thing. You have to go. I don't care. It's for me. This is so much bigger than It's like I'm doing my part. Like I felt that too. That call, and I'm like, but you need views, and you need to play the game to a certain extent to get your message out there. And I commend you for being like that, because that's really amazing. You're the first person I've ever heard in all the interviews I've done say that, and I'm like, man, that's exactly what it is right there. Your heart's in it.
yeah, no, I'm truly passionate about it. I love it. I would do it for free, if I could, but in order for me to actually have the time and put in the real effort that I want to be able to do and help all these people, you need to have some sort of, financial backing to what you're doing. Like I have been bombarded with so many cases now because of social media that has hit me so hard. I don't even know what to do with myself. I have 2 more cases this weekend. I have other cases next week. I have other cases that I haven't even put dates on to, like very fascinating, interesting cases. But most importantly, these people that need help in their homes and answers that I want to go and get answers for them and maybe help some souls that maybe need to pass on or displace anything that's negative. Because, that's what when I feel like called to do, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. But, it's not only financially tolling, but it's also emotionally and spiritually and physically tolling as well, because going to these places and tapping in and being around all this oppressive energy, it really can affect you in that way too. Like yesterday I was just like run down. I needed a day to just like shut off, and I couldn't really move much. Force myself to go to the gym because the paranormal hangover is a real thing.
It is too.
mean,
It is too. Oh
you could just
wow.
sit in the house for 8 hours and sit on your behind and ask questions, and you walk out of that building or house and you feel like you ran a triathlon and you're craving food and sugar or salt like you just had a night out before for drinks. Like,
That's so true.
I do believe that spirits don't just take energy from the air and the space, and I think they're also extracting nutrients from our body, where actually our body feels depleted of nutrients and we start craving food. I do
Never
believe
thought
from
about it
what
like
I've heard,
that.
there's exorcisms that have taken place, and they've done blood tests on people and priests and things like that, and their blood sugars have dropped and vitamins have been depleted. So to me, it makes so much sense because something's going on. Our bodies are reacting to this in a way where we are being affected. So
Oh yeah.
it's a whole process, man. And again, being sensitive and having this stuff all around, it's just you have to be really mindful, and you always have to try to keep your vibration high as well. Like that's why I try to go to the gym and just keep myself engaged all the time, because like you drop your vibration, you get upset, you start getting angry, then you're dropping your vibration, your aura. It has a crack in it, and these things are just looking for that opportunity to go in there and
Yes,
just
they are.
cheer on more anger and depression, and get you worried about things and panicking and feeding off that and trying to scare
So
you off from helping
true.
people and all this stuff. So
It's
it's
so true. They just sit there and they wait for that opportunity, that moment of that you have, like you said, that weakness right there. I will not go in somewhere if I have any hesitation or any fear. If I don't feel like that I stop. I've only done it like a few times, but I feel like that's instinctively a vulnerability. But
that's
yes,
their
what is
advantage. That's their
what
advantage. There's no conception of time. They can tap into your past. They can tap into the future
they know
outside of free
everything.
will to some degree. So they kind of know what may or may not happen. So they can sit there and kind of toy with you in that manner. And we can only speculate what these entities are doing and what their purpose are and who you're speaking with. That's the whole danger of the whole thing. So, that's why you have to be knowledgeable how these things can affect you subconsciously, emotionally, and spiritually, and being aware of that can have your advantage come into play here. So you can avoid things trying to be trying to put you in some sort of oppressive state
Trick you. They're really good at that.
or trick you, or mock things like that. Now,
Mocking,
the other element too is that, some of the people that say, "Oh, you're talking to demons." I'm like, dude, in my opinion, if there's a human spirit, if a spirit says, "Please pray for me," that's not a demonic spirit. No demonic spirit would ever ask you to pray for any reason, bring you closer to God, in my opinion, at all. They'll say other things to put you around in a direction, away from that, to try to ploy you, but they will not offer evidence and of faith and reason and incentive for you to pray, because they hate it. They absolutely hate it. I just recently, a couple of cases I've done, there was a hospital I did in Missouri. It was freaking so bad, so evil, Halloween night. And I just started saying the Hail Mary as for protection. And you can just hear this voice go, "No," as I'm like,
oh yeah.
And like, it just happened a couple of nights ago too. Like, these things scatter and just turn into a rabid animal when you start saying stuff like that. I mean, it's amazing to see and experience.
The growling and the hissing that comes.
Yeah.
Chilling. It's chilling.
Yeah.
They do not like it. You just like it. It's. I mean, you just pissed it right off is what you did. Be prepared, because it comes like tenfold at you. I just know from that box, everything that I tried to do with that box, and finally it went too far. And I always wondered, though, where did it go? Like, if it left that box and that box is inactive, but then somebody said that they can become inactive and active again. Do you think it's like, I felt like it really got personal. Like, is that kind of like how I don't know. I still feel like there's a family member out there, I'll just be really honest, that's acting really bizarre and has even called in a different voice sometimes and said, one time it was like, "I told you not to bring the Ouija board into this house." Like, and I was like, what is wrong with you? Like, stuff like that.
Right.
That started happening. And I was like, I just don't go around them. But is that kind of like maybe a possibility?
Where an item ends up in the hands of somebody else? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no. Like, do you think that it kind of went away? Because I got rid of it after that. Or do you think it jumps? Like, could it have jumped into somebody else? Like, what happens when you shut it down? Because I've heard before
you
that sometimes
you can't destroy energy. You can only displace it somewhere else. So if you're talking about an actual inhuman evil spirit, it is going to hop around. It's just going to look for another door. I've had actually in a vision, I have seen like a circular portal-like thing, and this dark hooded thing stood out with glowing eyes, looked left and right, and then went backwards back into the portal. I mean, these things are using portals all over the place. Any opportunity, any doorway. Now, these doorways can be diversified for opportunity when it comes to past tragic things, where it could be murder or just really bad, horrific things that human beings are responsible for, death, or even occult activity where the door was intentionally open from a spiritual perspective. They're all looking I hear them all the time in the EVPs. They're like, "This thing that I'm doing the exorcism ritual next week, he's been coming through in the EVP. Do the ritual. Let me in. Let me in." Oh, it's just like things. They're just desperately sitting there looking for a way to mess with someone from a malevolent purpose. I mean, this stuff is real, man. I mean, whether people believe it or not, it's no joke. It is there. The element is there. Yeah, they are definitely hopping around and looking for any opening to come into our world and wreak havoc.
Oh, yeah. We were talking before backstage about Annabelle and some of the occurrences. Do you want to go into any of that or what you got from her?
Annabelle's story now. And let me just tell you something about Annabelle too, from an overall perspective, is that something so infamous as Annabelle, the scrutiny is going to be at the same level. And some people like to say and be very skeptical about things like that, just like the Amityville house. Now, if you see the poster right behind me, that's regarding my own personal experiences having to do with the Amityville case. And I had it firsthand. And just as Annabelle, I had a firsthand experience. People can sit on the outside and say it's bogus, or it's not this, or it's fake, or this and that. But until you have your firsthand experience, you really just don't know unless you had the opportunity to investigate it. Now, this one particular night, I don't know, it was like 5 or 6 years ago, maybe six, actually 7 years ago. So they had an event down the street from the Warrens' house because the fire department shut them down because the Conjuring movie was out and people were showing up at the house. So they would do it at a Italian restaurant, like, a mile down the road. And we were there. I was live streaming in front of the Annabelle doll. And now I have this on video, by the way. It is on my YouTube channel. And God rest his soul, Dan Rivera. He was the lead investigator for Nesper. We were in front of the case, and we noticed that the latch that holds the door to the old Annabelle case came on loose. And we're sitting there like, are you serious? Like, that can't be true. Like, that's something weird. And then we talk about a little bit this and that. Whatever, that was the end of the live stream. So then that was a Saturday night. So then Sunday night, I'm in, like, at the time I was living in the top floor of a 2-floor, like, house. And I had a vision of this young girl, dark hair, black eyes and fangs, and like doing this and reaching out for me at my neck, trying to choke me. Woke up, chills, 3 o'clock in the morning, but that could have came from anywhere. I go to all these haunted places, came from anywhere. But I ended up in Gettysburg about a day or two afterwards, and I was in the battlefield, and the spirit box was on, and all of a sudden you hear in a row, Annabelle, Nightmare upstairs. And it was like, boom. I'm like, oh my God, that was freaking from Annabelle that came in my bedroom. So then I went back on the video from that night where the latch came loose. And on the video, you hear a little girl say, "See you in your bedroom." And there's a growl.
Oh, wow. So you were there with Dan when that whole thing happened?
Yeah. So then I told Dan about it, and he said that same night, that's really weird. That same night, the St. Michael metal latch that held it closed, they brought it back to the Warren Occult Museum, and it flew across the room. So with all of those strange experiences that lined up, to me, there's no doubt that whatever the reason is, that thing followed me home and was around me for days after, I don't know why. I've been around that doll again afterwards. I was around the doll a couple of times, and I would get references to Annabelle around me, but not something that intense that had happened. But yes, I do believe there's something attached to that doll. Now,
definitely.
Whatever was actually done with this doll originally, you have to understand acknowledgement is a very profound element in the paranormal. So when that doll is being seen, when people are looking at it and their acknowledgement is fear, and they're sitting there and like giving it all that attention. And that was the real reason why the Warrens went in and took the doll out, is because they had the doll sitting at the table and giving it like biscuits and tea. I mean, you were giving it energy like it was a real person. So even all these people seeing the doll and giving it acknowledgement could be giving it energy as well. So, who's to know? These are all theorizing, speculations, but I definitely do believe there is something with that doll, and I do not believe it's a hoax or fake. There's something.
I don't either. That I can't even tell you that doll, but and David Merlin was there, and he said that he was down there 5 minutes with her, and then he ended up getting home and he had Ed's book. He said that it was really weird. It was like he had a paper cut, but blood was dripping down. And when he looked down, it was right on the page of Annabelle. And he has a picture like posing with her. But he said, like, as no way, it seemed like there was a lot that psychologically went and impacted you, like, with her. And there is, like, I don't know, because you genuinely, like you said it at some points, like, this is dangerous, but yet it's so fascinating. Like, where do I draw the line? And, it's just like, that you walk that fine line, I'm sure. And then the more and more you get into this, I'm sure the more intense it gets for you.
Well, in the beginning, the more intense, the more interesting it was. I wanted to learn, but then all of a sudden, when I first started doing the paranormal, I started going on podcasts, and people started telling me you have a calling, and I'm like, I really didn't understand what they meant by that. But it was something I believe that even Ed Warren had said too, is that it's not like you just want to be a demonologist next Wednesday and say, I'm going to be a demonologist. Like, this stuff is called to you to deal with these dark entities. And that was something that seemed to naturally happen to me. Like, I was sent on these things, dealing with these things, and I was drawn into it. I didn't have any plans to be a demonologist or be involved with demonology, even though I was reading about it, I was fascinated by it. It's actually interesting. Like my first book, it was called Shadow Chaser. I didn't just name that book randomly. That is that a friend of mine had shown that my picture to them, a psychic, and doesn't know who I am, and asked, what her psychic impressions of me, and she called me a shadow chaser, that he's meant to send shadows and send them back to where they belong without knowing me. So, that's why I called my book that, but it seems to be, again, this recurring theme of what I'm doing here still to this day. So.
Oh no, you are. I think some people are born for this. Do you think there was like anything growing up, like a marker that made you just like, other than I know you said a spiritual awakening had occurred, like, a transitional moment for you in this?
There were definitely omens when I was a child that stood out to me when I was thinking about writing a book. When I was 3 years old, 3 years old, my mom would say that I'd sit in the bathtub and talk about, remember being in her womb and being in space, and have these weird conversations with her. And then there was a time when I was like, I don't know, 8 to 10 or something. I was running home. We had a house out Long Island, New York. And in between the houses, I saw some of my peripheral vision in the dead grass. And it was this book, and picked it up. It was a satanic book. It was burnt on the outer edges and had a creepy feeling, and ran home crying to my mom, as any kid. But like, things like that, it's like, wow, that was kind of an omen. Things like that had happened leading up to getting involved. There was also 3 years, I always tell this story, 3 years before I got involved in the paranormal, a girlfriend of mine was coming over to a house to hang out. Was at the time I had like 3 other roommates in a house in New York. And she never told me this story until 3 years later, when I started posting paranormal stuff on Facebook, when she saw I was interested in it, because she thought I would have thought she was crazy if she told me. But she decided to have the courage to tell me that this one night she came to hang out, she saw this dark hooded thing staring into my window and had black eyes, looked at her, and then disappeared. She said it was the most terrifying thing she'd ever seen. Now, my interpretation of really what that was is that this thing was watching me from the outskirts before I actually, again, walked onto with the spiritual rules of engagement and engaged these entities where it had permission to,
they mean something. Before my grandmother, we didn't know at the time, but I saw one. We were at her house, and I was like, and she was in like assisted living at the time, and I said, the hooded thing is back. Like, and my aunt's like, well, let's see how many days before what happened. And it wasn't even 3 days. My grandma had broke her hip. She was never out. Like, it just, that's kind of like the indication. And I've had these things before. Did it show its face? I've seen it before where its face is swirling, but the hooded thing, I don't understand. I felt like the Grim Reaper in a different, like, even more sadistic form.
One of the most disturbing demonic faces that I ever saw. It was actually while filming the Netflix show. They didn't show this part, but the 2 other guys that was in the house were playing with the Ouija board downstairs, and I was not taking part in that. And I was exhausted, drained, because we were investigating 7 days a week, nonstop. So no matter if I slept for 8 or 10 hours, like as soon as you start investigating, I just start slurring my words by the 3rd week. It was just, I couldn't do anymore. But anyways, there was this place that I did a documentary on called Malefice. This place, it was really evil, where I believe I prayed for these women to cross over. And there was a man that sadistically ended their life. And we found out that there was babies that were said to be buried on the property. And then he was doing illegal abortions to prostitutes when it was a brothel from the late 1800s. And there was a demon's name that kept on coming through, which is the recipient of baby sacrifice. And so I was laying in bed, and like I had a very distinct vision. The first part, it was like kind of cool. I had this vision, what I believe to be Archangel Michael, and you could see thousands of shadows underneath it. And he had his wings out, and like a lion's plate, silver plate, and like a sword in his hand. And he's looking down at these shadow figures like they were peons. And then he started to fly up, and then he looked down at me, and he says to me, keep following the way of the cross, which I actually thought was a really interesting way of saying that. It wasn't just like, oh, the way of the cross. I had never heard that sentiment before, but right after that, it actually changed into this vision. I saw this dark hooded thing, and it was yelling at me. It was saying, "You swine, cursing at me, and how dare you?" And the most disturbing thing is that I do believe this was that specific demon that is the recipient of this baby stuff. And the most disturbing part is that I could see reptilian like skin on its face. It had reptilian eyes. And the most disturbing part is that it had a helmet on. And what the helmet was actually 1, 2, and 3 baby arms and hands that were coming around like a helmet, but they were actually alive, and the hands were actually moving on its head. So it was wearing a helmet of like baby arms that were alive as a helmet as it was yelling at me. Definitely maybe one of the most disturbing things that I'd ever seen demonically. But yeah.
Wow, that's intense. That is intense.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. My son, I love it when he stops in and his friend are watching, and they were watching in the chat. So I just pulled that up. But yeah, that is absolutely intense. I mean, how do you, do you have anyone that you go and you can talk to about all of this? Because you're encountering stuff that I feel like is just, right at the edge, like of, you're doing things, you're going further than I've really seen before.
People ask me all the time, what's the worst thing that you've ever experienced? And I usually have to ask them, like, well, what's the worst thing that you could imagine happening?
Yeah. Oh my God.
So, I mean, besides me
seeing your life,
I've pretty much experienced, I'm almost 17 years in the paranormal and dealing with these dark things. I mean, yeah.
Did you find it trickling into your life?
What do you mean? Like
when you going through sometimes the negative experiences, all of a sudden, when I was a therapist for 7 years, and we had these intersubjective experiences, but these kids, borderline what they were able to do, you wonder, I would assume a mass majority of them were possessed in some way. They were so dark and evil and no empathy. But I just felt like the more I was around them and I saw this change, it started to seep into my life. It started to kind of
it's definitely negatively affected relationships in the past. I mean, you definitely have to be. It's something that you have to be. I mean, even to be in a dating relationship, it's like, by the way, I have to deal with the depths.
I know.
You want to have to live the life of Ed and Lorraine Warren to be dating me, basically.
I get that. You got this big story, and you're like, "This is not." I'm not even.
I'll never forget this time. Many years ago, I was on a dating site many years ago, and she wanted to go somewhere spooky, and I'm thinking to myself, it's probably the wrong person to ask to go somewhere spooky. And I'll never forget it. I took her to this abandoned asylum cemetery that's a mile down from the asylum, and it's one of the creepiest haunted cemeteries I've been to. And they have piles of bodies under each grave that only have a number on them. They were doing experiments on, and we were there, and this loud guttural growl came out of nowhere, and she's like, "It's time to go." And she didn't mutter a word to me on the ride back. I dropped her off, never heard from her again. I'll never forget that.
I know. See, I would think that would be awesome.
Right, well, yeah. You asked someone to go spooky, so you're asking the worst person to take you somewhere spooky.
She's probably thinking the YMCA night fright at the haunted forest or something.
Ghost at Disney World. So I mean.
Well, fair enough. You put in a lot of effort. I would have been enthralled by that. But I can imagine if you've never had to deal with that before, she was probably did you notice she trying to get towards the door, or she just got bolted at a certain point?
We heard that. It was that's holy shit.
Oh my God.
Me home, and she just would not even say a word to me. It's hilarious.
Wouldn't she love to know what was going through her head?
Oh yeah, I can only imagine the story she probably told her friends after that night.
She probably still in therapy from him. Yeah.
Horror show, and I heard this growl, and I'm like, I'm never. Yeah, it's hilarious.
I can tell this. I find that so amusing in so many ways, but you have to wonder sometimes. I would bring people too, and I'm like, they were just like hiding, but it was just like you see a totally different side of somebody, and it's scary. I mean, I've seen people like genuinely like, I mean, scared half to death, and I'm like, man,
The old
I
days, you
don't
take
feel
a
that.
girl to like a scary movie and hoping that she jumps on you or something like that. Now it's like, oh, you want to go to the cemetery? It's like,
Let
oh,
me
shit.
take it where the movie was actually
Now you don't
made. Yeah.
movies, but now you're dealing with the real thing. I'm like, oh shit. I mean, now it's
Oh my god.
yeah.
That is absolutely hilarious. What do you I feel like story of my life right there. What do you I guess what location that you've been on do you think has probably been like the most haunted or the most, I guess, interactive in whatever way?
I've been saying this recently, but I feel like the most haunted places in general are like these asylums because
Yeah.
there's so many humans that were mistreated
Yes.
and so much suffering. You know, because when you talk about like a hospital, I think hospitals too, but it's kind of like a different diversified types of emotional things that happen. But like
Yeah.
asylum specifically, it's such a draw of dark, oppressive energy, and there's so much suffering, and these people went through just horrific conditions in these places. I feel like the asylums are like the most crazy places active wise in general. Unless like I'm just going to some place where it's, you know, straight up, you know, evil. I mean, but I'd say, oh, you know, generally speaking, like asylums are the most haunted places, for
Oh,
sure.
I agree. I was at the one with Ed Gein at the Mendota State Hospital, and they had not only that, it was on like these Indian burial grounds, and then it had an unmarked cemetery. And the stuff, I mean, I couldn't barely make it through. There was like acorn. I mean, they were like pegging. I was like, man, this is like the activity there. I would have to agree was insane. And anytime you have something like that, and also like any of the poor farms, I've noticed
Oh
they're really.
yeah, yep. So episode 6 of Up Against Evil, I started a series on my YouTube channel of going up when it kind of fits the theme of dealing with something that's kind of evil. And went to this house. The homeowners were experiencing activity, bangings on the walls in threes. Even called the cops because the banging got so bad, and the cops came. No one was there, and you know I knew nothing else pretty much outside of that. I did an intuitive walkthrough, and I felt like there were bodies coming off the ground and like without graves. I really felt that. I felt like there was a demonic spirit there. I felt like there was this evil man that actually graped, minus the G, young ones in this farmhouse, this
Oh,
barn.
wow.
And I felt it was like he was really evil and things like that. And when I did the investigation from the first night, like it came through, like what happened in that barn, evil. And it said that bad word, grape. And you know, he's evil and he did this to the kids. And it kept on saying the children, the children. And I ended up saying a prayer and they said the children left. So, you know, I blessed the home, but the activity continued. So I wanted to go back, and I ended up doing the exorcism ritual in the house. And on the day that we did the exorcism ritual, I actually got a message on Facebook from some guy that realized like I worked on that house a few years ago, and you know, the guys, you know, wanted to run off the property because they were hearing screams and their equipment was going missing, and you know, this and that. So it was just really crazy. I did the exorcism ritual, and then like, oh, and then he said that the word around town was that it was a Native American burial ground. So I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy because, you know, I felt like there were bodies possibly under
Yeah.
the house. So do the exorcism ritual. So then it kind of got around town because one of my posts went a little viral, and people in that area, you know, started commenting. And then one person commented, actually one person showed up at the homeowner's property and said, you know, I've lived here since a toddler and I watched your video, and I remember being here and watching the bulldozer knock all the graves down before the house,
Oh my
and they
god.
were pushed to the back. And I was just like, oh my, that's it. That's
Wow.
validation. There's no speculation, this and that. And then it got even crazier. So then someone else comments the next day and tells me, I watched your video and it was passed down from my elders. The story from the late 1800s. There was a man that was graping kids. The story was that he was doing this to kids in a barn and then throwing their bodies in the well, and that kids were going missing, and they figured out that it was this man, and they unalived him. I mean,
Oh,
I could not freaking believe it. It's like it's literally the story of Freddy Krueger. I mean, that's literally the story of Freddy Krueger. And I was so shocked by it, because I'm like, there's no way I could have known that. It's just crazy. And someone else just commented on my YouTube on the same video and said they're from town, and they just said the same thing to me. I heard this story about the man who did really bad things and they took him out. And I'm like, that is freaking crazy. And what the person told me is that the word is that the man who did this to the kids, and some of the kids that were in the well were buried in the cemetery adjacent to the house that I went on, because there's a little cemetery next to the house, but they must have got rid of all these graves that were put the house over. And they were telling me that the word is that the evil farm man and the kids that were unalive were buried on that freaking property. I couldn't believe
oh
it.
my God.
I couldn't believe it. It's freaking crazy.
Oh, and then I don't mess around on Native American grounds for some reason. That's when things have gotten way like out of hand or super intense. I don't know if you've experienced that, but I'm telling you, they're the vivid. And I accidentally took a tree branch from there, and believe me, I think they're still paying me back for it. But there's a genuine, especially I've even been on cursed land, and the hatred that they do carry for a lot of the white man for what happened to them, not necessarily by us, but is there as well. Like some of their traditions is, yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's intense. Did you, how do you but not connect with some of this? See, like you said, once they start knowing, do you kind of think that bigger ones come about? They know you're coming before you know you're coming.
They do.
So what do you think? Do you feel like you're dueling them at times? Because this is and then to think you do this, I'm sure you're exhausted. I'm surprised I give you so much credit for being here, because you're going through, this has to be totally mentally and physically exhausting.
It is. Oh, it definitely is. Yeah. That's why I said it's so important, especially if I'm going on trips and I gotta, investigate, say for instance, like this weekend, if say for instance, if like these next two cases this weekend was somewhere else and I had to travel, right, and I stayed at a hotel and I got to investigate and possibly help these two situations, and I couldn't get sleep, you know what I mean? Like you have to have sleep, because if you don't sleep, that's the state that they try to have you in when they try to oppress you. By not having sleep, your vibration lows and makes you more susceptible to their attacks. So you have to make sure that you're rested going on this stuff, because you're not just going to even just engage spirits. You're going up against something that wants to stop you from what you're doing. They'll do everything they possibly can to do so. Attack others around you, try to influence. I've been in situations where they'll try to influence someone else to get them angry at me and try to harm me. They'll do anything. So yeah, it's definitely a delicate process.
Yeah, it is too. It really is. And I guess, it's like you're going in and you're completely uncloaked, but yet they're fully, all your vulnerabilities are so right there, and they feed off of it. It's like too, I just wonder sometimes. It was interesting how they would pick certain people, or how certain people, I know when we went to this place called the Edinburgh Manor, the girls who had wore their hair up in like a bun, we figured it was probably like they used to go through, and we'd simulate kind of going through and pushing the medications and like kind of rifling, get them, get them going and things like that. But it seemed like there were certain people, and that thing that had it by their throats. Like this girl, she had like marks, and it was literally but it seemed like it went towards a certain person, or a certain, a look, I guess, that they were really attached to.
Yeah. They'll, I say this all the time. You say, 5-10 people walk into an alleged haunted location. If there's a true demonic entity that's infesting the place, they're going to go to the person that's like the wounded fish flapping in the water. That flapping in the water is sending off a sound, a frequency to a shark, to a predator that's going to go out of a school of fish. Who's that shark going to go to try to attack? The one that seems the easiest to victimize and, be a predator to prey. So, they'll tap into your history. They'll tap into something in your psyche, your emotional state, your current state, your past, or something like that, where they feel like you are the easiest target. Just like I explained to you before about the bar that I have to go back to, and they went after the poor man with his PTSD and his harrowing story, what happened to him, because they feel like they could use that to bring him down and try to put a fearful state in anyone around, so they don't lose permission to infest the area and influence more human beings when they have the opportunity to do it.
Oh yeah. I ultimately, like, you're right, and energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So it's running through, it's waiting, it's very methodical, it's very calculated. And is that kind of where because you developed an app, like an EVP app,
Mm-hmm.
which is it kind of been your tool to maybe like reach? I use the Stephen Huff portal, one of my favorite. But I just noticed, and I was going to download your app, and can you kind of tell me a little bit about it, or tell the audience? I think it's fascinating. It really is.
So I came up with an idea concept about over 10, well, actually it's almost like 11 years ago, because when I got really interested in EVPs, I realized that audio forensic analysis would take a look at pieces of audio that had an alleged disembodied voice on it, and would agree that that's a loud enough voice that sounds like a human being, but the frequency behind that voice would be scientifically impossible to be a human being, only like a kick drum of a drum set. So when I thought about this, I'm like, well, what if, as these phones came out, smartphones, I'm like, what if there was some sort of text to speech ability that we use on our phones that listens to every word that we say? But what if we trick the software to only listen for a bracket of frequencies that are outside of human speech range, but looks for words that are loud enough in the audio and the environment for the software to interpret for us? And that's where my concept came up with. And I had patented it, threw it in patent for like 10 years ago, but I never got to implement it until the last year and to start experimenting with it. I consider it's an experimental new way to try to get ITC and have the software actually interpret EVPs for us.
That's what we need, instead of listening through so it's going through and listening to the EVP, or it's doing both jobs, like instead of having to go through and analyze every
right, it's trying to interpret EVPs for us. And we're using AI text to speech, which is still brand new technology. And I think, and again, there's a lot of skepticism with apps in general. And, I would say this to anybody who's skeptical about apps is, number one, is that if you believe in the paranormal, do you believe that spiritual energies can manipulate anything that's electrical? That would be my first question to you. And if you believe in that, well, would you agree that every single method of ITC has a process of elimination with it? EVP, is it audio pareidolia? Is it a random noise that's happening in the background? Or is it an actual disembodied voice of a spirit? With a spirit box, is it audio pareidolia? Is it the radio? Or is it a spirit? So when you have these other apps that have been out that are cliche from the past, that is based only on manipulation, that the spirit can assign it to one of the words in its database, which I do believe it works in some cases. I've used these things throughout the years, but it also comes with a lot of limitations. And that's why I wanted to come up with something that has no limitations. And because of my unique concept, it's able to say anything that it hears, not just the vocabulary words that it's saying. And I wanted to have, possibilities for people to investigate, to have research that's unlimited. And I've had some really amazing results using the SAM mode, which is the core element of the app, leaving it on and having it just listen. Say, for instance, I was at this museum in Southport, few months back, and I had the SAM mode on, and I was recording an EVP, and all of a sudden the app says lights out. And all of a sudden I'm like, do you want the lights out in the room? And all of a sudden the millimeter starts beeping like crazy because the light was on right adjacent to the room. So then I listened back to the recording, the audio recording, and you actually hear a man's voice say, I want the lights out. And then the app goes lights out, and then the millimeter starts going off crazy. So when you have multiple methods connecting, culminating to the notion of this intelligent, piece of evidence, then that's what I'm saying. That's a really fascinating. That's the type of stuff that I try to say, use the app in that way. Try to correlate with other things. I'm not going to say everything that comes through the app is a spirit. I think we need to be objective with every single ITC method, but we also need to be open. And if you believe in spiritual beings and the paranormal, we should already be healthily objective and skeptical, but also open to the possibility of what these things could do. And as far as I'm concerned, I haven't seen anybody use AI technology when it comes to communication ITC. And because I have an original unique concept that I've started, now I'm about to relaunch the app with even more very unique features that have never been seen in the paranormal field. And it's going to be upcoming in the coming weeks. And I'll say it, what it's going to be doing is no other app has ever done this before, is that there's going to be features, characterizations. So, when we actually listen to an EVP, and we can hear and estimate, right? You hear a voice on a recording and it sounds like a female or a young person, right? Or an adult male. And you'll be like, that sounds like a man or a female. So I thought, if we have an estimation coming from the text to speech and the AI technology, what if we can actually have it guess and tell us what age it thinks it is and what gender the spirit is? And not only that, so it's going to be able to spit out the gender, the age of what it believes the voice to be coming from. And then the voice is going to turn from either a young male or female or an adult male or female. AI doesn't have the ability to have a child voice yet, but at least there's going to be really diversified, interesting, fascinating characterization to the voices and an age, gender estimation to the actual app as well, which I've never seen any of these things do. As well as it's going to be able to listen for up to 3 different languages of your choice. And whatever your primary language is, if it hears a foreign word, it's going to say the foreign word and translate the foreign word to your primary language, which is another really cool thing.
Oh, that is awesome.
In any other technology. So I'm excited about the prospects. And again, it's an experimental method, and I'm still tweaking and chiseling the statue. But again, AI technology is constantly progressing and innovating. And whether I even change the concept at all or try to tweak it on my end, that technology is going to keep getting better and better, and can also improve the results on top of what I can do on the other side of the fence. So I'm excited about the possibilities of where this could land as it gets better and better, because I don't want to just sit there and say, here you are, this is it. I want it to be something advanced. I want to be innovative with this approach and backing from the original concept that I had created.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, all in itself, like, I can't, it's always been a struggle. And it's like, you'll sit back. Is that what I heard? Then I have one that has like the noise killer, like it's like a speaker that has like, whatever, it's lined with crystals. But there's always like, that would be such validation, because then you have to sit there. Sometimes it's, they'll respond while you can hear it. Sometimes it's just imprinted on the audio. But it's still, nonetheless, you're listening to hours of this to, kind of get it going and back and forth and in a new location. I have to give them instructions how to use it. And so it kind of is, it's a tedious thing at times. But that's amazing. So can you actually take, even if somebody can you like funnel maybe you got footage or you have it on or old on an audio? Will it feed that through and interpret it? Or
as long as it's a voice in a bracket of frequencies that are outside human speech, that's what it's trained to do. Now, again, yes, we're using AI text to speech. There's an unpredictability with AI, and I'm sitting here. I want to make sure that this is as legit as possible. It's experimental. People get so crazy about trying to just dismantle.
It's not perfect. Otherwise, we'd have all the answers, and it's like we could pick up the phone and just call. It's not that way.
Every ITC method has a process of elimination that is not always a spirit. So there's no different from any traditional methods that people would use and respect. Technology, we should be using technology to try to bridge the gap into finding more answers and get more fascinating results in our investigations, and not circling the drain of the same stuff that we've been doing for the last 15, 16 years. So I'm excited on again, for the possibilities of where this can go as I constantly try to improve it. I'm getting a testing version that's going to be a little bit tweaked, different of how the app is actually working. And I'm actually excited to see if I get a little bit better results, and that'll be implemented into the relaunch of the entire app in the coming weeks. It's going to be on Android as well, in this full launch.
Oh, that's awesome. Cause I have an Android now. So I'm like, I was waiting for it to come out.
An Android probably like a couple weeks.
Oh, cool. That's soon.
So, yeah. I mean, like I'm super excited about it. I wanted to have some. If somebody else built this, I would be using it. You know what I mean? Like, I want to use anything that has value to it on investigation and being passionate about the paranormal and all the research I do on investigations. You want to have unique and different tools to try and use to try to get clearer or more communication through multiple facets. And I think all these different tools, I mean, use the spirit box next to the app, because I'm really friendly with Gary. He'd actually experimented with the app with the spirit box and had a couple of interesting things happen. Okay. But I mean, I've had sentences come through the spirit box that actually came through on the app, and if my app is doing what it's supposed to do, if the app says the same sentence as it came through in the spirit box, that actually proves that the spirit box voices that came through are non-human, because it's only supposed to listen for voices that are non-human range frequency. So again, that's giving more potential validation to the spirit box or something else that you're doing. And you got to connect the dots. That's how I use the app. You know what I mean? Do EVPs while you have the SAM mode on, and ask questions, just like I said, how other things have happened. So that's how you validate. Even me having sensitivity to spirits, when I go and do my walkthrough and I don't hear any information, it's all about validation. So like, I want the owner to walk with me as I pick up stuff, because afterwards they'll be able to know if I tapped into stuff unbeknownst to me that was correlating to things that are prevalent for the investigation or the history that's going on at the location. So it's the same principle.
Oh, absolutely. And you know that you're going to be more meticulous. You're out there doing this. You obviously want to make things, and you're one out there pushing the boundaries. I mean, like, you're moving that goalpost. And it's just like, I mean, being one of those, is it kind of scary at times? Like, hey, I'm out here like leading the way like this, because you're pioneering a portion of this. I see how your legacy, which is also very important, your memory behind.
Here's a weird thing too, with the app too. And I called the company Spirit Phone Innovations because I wanted to be as a homage to Thomas Edison, who allegedly had a spirit telephone that spoke to the dead, but no one really actually saw it. But when I was doing research about EVPs, I thought it was really fascinating is that he had a quotation that was up Thomas Edison in his warehouses to let his employees live by as they worked on his inventions. And it was a quotation by a famous 17th century painter named Joshua Reynolds, which is actually one of my ancestors. So I thought, wow, interesting. And also, the first time that we tested the app, the developer in another country got a result that gave him chills. And I did, like, right before I found out about that, I had like this outer body experience where I was back in my childhood home. I saw my old dog next to me with a smile on his face, like he wants to go outside. You want to go out, jumps on me, licks me. And then I was floating in this room. I was floating in this room, and there was a conversation going on with a man and a woman, and they were like talking about the app. And then they turned to me, and this woman's like, your app is going to help us communicate. I'm like, really? Wow. And all of a sudden I came out of it, and I was in my bed. I had the strangest feeling that I've never had ever in my life, and still to this day from a year ago, is that when I landed in my bed here in my apartment, it felt like this place was foreign to me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, it didn't feel
yes.
Moments where I felt like this wasn't where I was from. It was the strangest.
I know. Oh my gosh. I do when I went through this stuff, especially with the ET got tangled in. This place became, I said, I don't feel like I'm from here. I don't even know how to explain this. It is very uncomfortable. It makes your skin crawl at certain moments, but I get that feeling, and everything had changed. It was like you kind of woke up in a little bit of a different upside down world. I totally get that. Wow.
Yeah, and the spirits have actually talked about the app on the spirit box. They'll say use the SAM mode. They talk about Sean's invention. They're talking about it. So there's something going on, and I pray that it will continue and do something amazing. It's already done some interesting stuff, but I feel like there's still progression here with the technology that I've melded into my original unique concept. There's real opportunity here to keep going with this and not just have, whatever your typical stuff is. With spirit boxes, well, if someone claims it's a spirit box and an app, we actually looked into that. it's not a spirit box. They cannot actually sift through frequencies on a radio on a phone. It's very slow, so it doesn't work just like a spirit box. So it has to be predetermined, pre-sampled audio in spirit boxes on apps. So it's not. It's more of just like fluttering noises and things like that, which in some cases you can get results with it, but it's not a true spirit box on an app. But yeah, I'm really excited to see where it's actually going to go from here.
Wow. So I know it's hard to believe sometimes that you're stepped into your destiny, so to speak, or like what your mission here is. But I feel like from the course of when I encountered it, like a UFO, it changed my course of life. Like never from that moment on was anything the same. And I feel like now paranormal, it did not get, I kind of grew up with it. So it was my reality, but I kind of feel like you had that shift. Like, it's like, you probably can't get enough of it. You immerse yourself here. It's just like, I don't even know how to explain it, but I did the same thing like with ETs. And I was like, this is like, I was starting to look up equations I shouldn't have known and like just making all these weird connections. It was like I all of a sudden started seeing dots connect on a board. Like I feel like you're right there in doing this. What do you think the next step is to all this?
I'm just following my lead. I didn't expect.
I think you are leading.
Get that creation out and stuff like that. But also, I feel like even my involvement just doing cases and helping people, I feel like I have more work to do in that avenue. And I think the software and the creation of that is kind of just a component of that as I'm going. Sure. So again, I'm just following my intuition. I'm following my lead to where it takes me, like I have from the beginning, where the paranormal drew me in and follow my path and this calling, so to speak. I feel like I'm definitely doing what I'm supposed to do. And I have more work to do. So, pray that I can continuously do that. And hopefully in the end, leave behind some sort of impactful, positive legacy in the paranormal field that I care so deeply about.
I can sense it that you do. You can tell by just talking to you how passionate you are about it. Yeah, so many thoughts are running through. I'm just thinking, man, like that is a hefty like burden, but yet it's such a gift all at the same time. And I really commend you from going out there because it could scare. I mean, I don't know, like just even knowing that this is your destiny and this is your path is a lot to digest. Like, I'm sure like, did you ever, when you were going back, even though you kind of probably dreamt of it, could you ever see yourself actually being here at any point? Like, before growing up? I know there's kind of indications.
Before the paranormal, my first passion was, being a musician, a singer. It was my dream to just be a successful singer. And actually, I'm actually recording a new album as we speak, and hopefully a music video next month. I'm really excited about some of these songs that I've created, and I think music and spirituality go hand in hand. It's a kind of an extension of emotions, and emotions and spirituality are so, intricately intertwined. So, I'm really excited to get back to, some of that too, because those are my two loves in my life, is music and the paranormal, for sure.
That's awesome. I get that. Like I can't sing, that's why mine, but every like song that I have on there, I've written and it's like such a way to kind of tell my story too, like about, some stuff, some of it's playful, but yeah, it really is. It's great, meaningful, definitely. So what's the name? What do you, I guess, of your band?
Well, I'm a solo artist, so
even better.
So I'm doing all the music and, I write everything myself. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I think it might be about 16 songs altogether.
Oh, wow. We'll have to check it out. Where can the audience find it?
It'll be available when it comes out on all your typical Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music. It'll be available everywhere. And I do have past, EPs and stuff that are already on there. If you look up my name, Sean Austin, there's a few different Sean Austins, but I think you'd probably be able to figure out which ones are mine. But yeah, those are my two passions.
Man, so you got, those are some big things. You really are. You're pretty talented. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like you're too drained. Does it feel like, has it all even, does it hit you from time to time? Like come in waves, like, oh my gosh, like all of this is going on. Because it has to be exhausting in the heat of it.
Oh yeah, definitely can be a little overwhelming. It's a lot, yeah, especially as of recently, like I said, like there's so many cases that have reached out to me because of social media that I've never had before. Like I'm gonna hit the record, with um, this one I'm gonna do next week. I think that'll be 3 exorcism rituals I've done on properties in the last like 2 months. When typically there'd be maybe one case in a year that I would consider truly like demonic, and like now I've done that many times, and I'm just like, holy crap, this is wild. What is going on here?
I know. Man, I can't, like, that is so cool though to hear. I mean, it couldn't have happened to a better person. You really sound like you're in it for the right reasons, and that's
Thank you.
first and foremost, because you see so much of like the BS part of it, like, let's exaggerate it. I'll never forget when I went to this place and assumed that the story they were telling me was true and how they obtained the property. And then I went back and I talked to the lady after. She's like, oh no, that was just for ghost adventures. And I was like, what do you mean? That was just like, what is going on here? So
Yeah.
I was, I don't respect when they can't, bring it, but don't.
I've been on TV shows throughout the years, and you roll your dice to protect the little reputation you have. And like, I don't consider myself a celebrity. I've been on some TV shows. I've been lucky and privileged to have some of those opportunities, but sometimes you may roll the dice if you have the right opportunity. You want to just go for it and see what happens. But I mean, what I'm doing right now, like the one thing I really love about it is that I have full artistic control in creating these videos and really kind of putting my own swing on things and really engulfing my spirituality into the whole mix, rather than just, because of my mediumship, my spirituality and my faith, they're like very like into the videos, and the way I approach, and always trying to help spirits and pray for spirits, which you don't see much of. So I really enjoy telling my own story without having limitations to it. Like if you have opportunities on TV, because you're kind of just sitting there being told what to do, and it's very nerve-wracking. I've been in these situations before, so I do like that.
How do you do that with cameras on you? Like, because you got to walk a fine ethical line here, like with some of this stuff. And I'm sure that's hard to do at certain points, but how does it feel to have all those cameras on you and watching your every move? Because you're in some vulnerable, I mean,
like
especially as a medium.
Myself.
Yeah.
Someone filmed me do the walkthrough, but then like I'm live streaming part of the time, and then I'm filming at the same time, and I'm holding like a rig. Like I'll have someone film me do the walkthrough, but the way I'm doing right now is that I'm like letting people watch part of it live, and I'm filming horizontally as well. So it's a lot. It's a lot to handle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I'm doing an exorcism ritual, obviously I have someone like film me, because I'm, in my zone, doing what I need to do. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to do, and spiritually it's tolling and all these different avenues. So, but again, I'm just, feeling that calling to do what I need to do, and just try to get it done and do as much as I can, to make a difference.
Wow. Yeah, no, and that you are, and right there on the front lines. I'm just, man, to digest all of it is so insane and intense. What is it like when you're doing an exorcism on the land? I'm assuming if humans give you a little bit, I mean, because they don't want to leave. Like you said, they're going to like extremes.
Well, that's something that I think I do differently than many people as well, because when I go into a home or location, I don't want to just, okay, if I get evidence this place is haunted, and then just try to set off a explosion of light into a place and try to force everything out. And I think that avoids a lesser chance. It's making a lesser chance of you being able to help the situation, rather than what I do first. Is what I like to do is to try to get down on an individual level with the spirits, the human spirit element, to try to encourage them to accept the light and go, because I can't force them to go. I'm trying to give them incentive to go, by doing that first, and getting some of that element that's in the house, some of the emotional, even if it's distraught, sadness, because that can affect the people that are living in the house emotionally too. If you're living in an environment where there's sad spirits, after a while, it's going to affect you that way too. You're going to start to feel sad. So if you can take some of that element out, and then you just have like the negative spirit, then you're taking care of some of the human spirit element. And by the time that I actually do bless the home, or if I have to do an exorcism ritual, then you're actually forcing and displacing just the negative stuff. But that is part of the exorcism ritual prayer, on top of what I do individually for the human spirits, that it says, send these, human souls back to God, harmlessly. But I think the level of getting down with them on an individual level first, I think it really improves the chances of the overall situation getting to a better place.
What do you think about the theory of going to, I've always said, go towards the white light. I think Jack Vlay came out. I was like, don't go towards the white light. You're cycling back through here. And someone said, well, maybe that's what they need to do anyway. What is your take on all of that?
Well, I get it all the time. I mean, I pray that they're like, show me the light. Show me the light. Where's the light? Pray for me. And then I'll pray. And I mean, I just had something amazing happen 2 nights ago at the case I did. I was praying for the spirits. I had a spirit box on. And usually what I do is I have a visualization of kind of like a white spotlight coming down. And I envision like a portal opening up. And I envision loved ones, familiar faces to these spirits to come towards the light. It's part of my prayer. To just facilitate this whole scene, to encourage the spirits to go. And then after I finished my prayer, I saw a vision of the Blessed Mother, and I asked who came in the light to help assist them through the light. And after I vocalized having this vision of the Blessed Mother, and through the spirit box, undeniably clear, it said salvation, Mary. And it's pretty powerful, and especially when people are watching that live too. This isn't some exaggerated stuff, and that makes me feel purposeful too, because I'm showing the power of prayer and a positive element, and not just having to be eccentrically scary in a place. It's like there's a human spirit element. We can all relate to that, because these were people that once lived in this world. We're all brothers and sisters spiritually. We come from the same source. So I want to show that level of respect and show the power of prayer. And it's typically how I do the investigations, even if I'm just going to some random place and helping the spirits, and it gives a positive kind of like climactic ending to the story, and not just this scary, dark stuff. Oh, this is just awful or haunting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I love the fact that you're bringing prayer and spirituality in this. It's for something that's supposed to be so spiritual. It sure is cut out a lot. And I wish, and I understand in the beginning, sometimes it was a church viewing this or vice versa. But I'm glad that you found that, that line to walk, because it really is a big part of this. This is definitely is good. There's good ones, and there's definitely evil ones that hate humanity. I, without a shadow of a doubt, can say that. Yeah. But, so you really, wow. How do you keep yourself, like, is there anything that you do? Like, I always used to be like, spirits of the white light and love of God, stay with me. Spirits not of the white light and the love of God, leave. And I kept repeating that, which was helpful, or jumping in a bath with salt water. What are your clearing techniques?
Well, before leaving a property, I typically would say I revoke their permission for any evil spirits to follow me home. In the name and authority of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, name of the Blessed Mother, Virgin Mary, Mother of God, name of all the angels and saints and the blessed apostles Peter and Paul. I cover my heart, mind, body, and soul in my vehicle with the blood of Jesus Christ, and I fear no evil. Amen. So that's something that I vocalize before I leave all properties, in the hopes of things not happening. And, in some cases they don't. In some cases things still happen, but I take every precaution necessary at the same time.
Yeah, you have to. Otherwise, they want to come and ride right home with you. Before I go in, I was like 2 or 3 days before I start to get all this information. I'm like, it knows you're coming before you know you're coming, is the only conclusion I make.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I definitely do.
Wow, that's awesome.
There was actually a really cool thing that happened to me years back. I was going to Hillview Manor, a place in Pennsylvania, and I was driving in my car, and I was live streaming at the time off an app called Periscope, and I had this on video. I kept on hearing, I was in my car, and I started hearing like someone tap me on the shoulder, and it got to the point where it was like the back of my neck, and it's never happened to me before. So I turned on the live stream, like, guys, there's a ghost in the car with me, and in my car at the time, I could turn the knob make it into a makeshift spirit box. So I'm asking, like, is there a Sam in here? Because I had heard the name Sam, and then he goes, yes, that's me, or something like that. Oh, wow. And I'm like, did you follow me where I'm going? Are you from where I'm going? Are you where I'm going tonight? And it said Hillview on the spirit box. And I'm like, why are you Why are
Oh
you
my
so
gosh.
far with me? And it said on the spirit box, bring the light. And when I went there during the night, and when I got to the point right before I was about to pray, they said, we've been waiting for you. So
Oh, I believe that.
it's pretty wild.
Wow.
I've had circumstances like that happen before.
Is it run in your family? Is there anybody else that carries genetic ability?
There's a family tree that was done by my aunt, and there's Native Americans, there is white
Oh.
witches and mediums in my family tree, allegedly psychics. So there is some lineage connectivity as well, for sure. That could be somewhere along those lines. Yeah.
No, yeah. I had it on both sides, but the actual visual sight came from a great aunt that from Ireland. So it's I always find the ties are like Native American or the Irish, the Celtic Irish. Like there's just for whatever reason. And yeah, it was because it's just like, did your family growing up, did they see it as different, or you mean even throughout your years when you kind of, it's not an easy thing to really come forth and say, oh, yeah, I see ghosts and they talk to me.
Was like a little spooked from it, for sure. My dad was definitely open to it, so there was never any, hard angst against it. It was just kind of like spooked out, and just, that's pretty wild. Like I was just telling this story to someone the other day, which I wrote about my first book, because some people are just so skeptical. And again, I always tell people all the time, especially with all the technology we have, it's all about firsthand experience. If you witness something that has no rational explanation for it, that's why we call it the unexplained. But it's happening. So that's why people like myself get passionate about the paranormal, that want to find out more answers, to find out like there's something to it. You know what I mean? And there was this one time where I went to a family party at my cousin's, and it was her daughter's birthday, and she had Hello Kitty toys all over the place. And so it was the time when I just got involved in the paranormal, and there was a toy car, a Hello Kitty car, like this big, about 3 feet in front of us, and she's like, asking me questions about the paranormal. Do you think Grandma and Grandpa are here? I'm like, I don't know. And then the light flickered, and then this car next to me vrooms. So it kind of like
wow,
to me, like maybe it's Grandma and Grandpa. Put it on all 4 wheels, and like, Grandma and Grandpa, if it's you, move it towards your granddaughter. And it moved right up to her foot. So we're sitting in a circle with 9 people, right? So then all of a sudden she's like, Sean, ask Grandma and Grandpa like if they can move the car towards their other granddaughter. Now she's sitting like all the way in the other left part of the room from me. So we sit there, and all of a sudden the car backs up, does a 3-point U-turn, and aims right towards my other cousin's feet. Now everyone's screaming in the room, what's going on? We tell them.
I bet.
And like my cousin's husband, super skeptical. Oh, come on, where's the remote control? What's going on here? The remote control is still in the plastic. So then all of a sudden we ask one more time, Grandma, that's you. Could you move the car and aim it towards your son, who my uncle was sitting on this side of the room? Once again, the car backs up. Everyone's in the room, does a 3-point U-turn, and aims right towards my uncle's feet. And he gets up. He's like, I need another drink. And my cousin's husband that night was like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Exactly. For like 2 weeks after that, the car was spinning around the room by itself, and then it just stopped.
Oh my God. Kind of like the dating situation. They just like, I tell people, I'm like, I don't know what to say to you. It's like, it is what it is. But yeah, some people, they'd be like, don't you think you've gone too far? Or like, just like things like that. But I've also had too, like where somebody was going to cross and I didn't understand what was going on, but I had all these toys going off. And even up until like I had the dream, and within like 30 days is when it will happen. And it's always, I never can tell exactly who it is. I can only tell how close they are to me. And I remember when my son's dad died, he was 18 months old. And even like 2 days before he had passed, and I did not, my aunt's like, it's, you know what, maybe it's who you least expect. But I noticed that in birth and stuff like that, I'm real sensitive to knowing. Do you get anything like, I guess, anything like that, or, that you can sense even before?
It did happen with my sister. I guessed that she was pregnant. She
Oh,
calls
I'm
on,
so
she's
sorry.
like, and I'm like, are you pregnant? She's like, yep. So
Yeah, you can sense life, isn't that that's
that
awesome.
was yes,
I
that
I
did
did with my
happen. There
sister
was a
too,
baby thing that
yeah.
I saw in my mind's eye too with somebody else. Yeah, recently.
Is
I saw like
I've
a
heard
it was
this.
it looked like an X-ray of a baby in a yeah.
Wow. Wow. I
That's
did
what I
with my
saw in the
friend, she
vision.
had
Yeah.
like an inner like she had to have whatever and she lost twins and I said I had and I could it was like this real but I was like right there like I almost like I could feel it but I said you're not going to have actual twins again. You're going to have a Gemini. And sure enough, she had like a Gemini girl and I'm just like it just, something that comes out but that's amazing cuz that there kind of counteracts some of the dark and gloomy stuff with death and things like that. I mean,
Don't
you're
get me
you're a big part.
all like scary stuff. I mean, I can even tell you, I do believe I was taken to heaven at least, I believe 3 times. I went to
Wow.
what I believe to be heaven. Yeah.
What was it
Um,
like?
one of them. So I wrote a whole chapter about my experiences when it comes to astral projection. If you know about that, it's when your soul leaves your body when you're sleeping. Your soul's
Mhm.
attached to your physical body, something called the silver cord. And in this one instance, I was laying down in bed, and all of a sudden, I was in the most beautiful scenic place. I saw waterfalls and trees, and taking over vast seas. And all while this was happening, I had this electrical buzz all around my being, just filled with euphoria, love, peace, acceptance. And I felt like this spiritual vein. I was connected with every other being in this place. Like there was this oneness. We were all, connected. This just pulsating love and peace back and forth to each other. And I'm like, why am I here? I knew I was out of my body, and I'm like, I don't want to wake up. It felt like I'm like, oh my God, like what is going on right now? That this feeling that I felt, I didn't want it to stop. But then finally, when I came out of it and I woke up in bed, I actually started to tear up because I felt so unworthy to the place that I was just taken. I didn't understand it, but that's how profound it was to me. There was another instance that took place where I came out of my body. I was on the road and I was on my room where I was staying at the time. And then I came out of my body. I saw a shadow figure in my room. But I know when you're out of your body, you got to think about where you want to go really quickly. So you'll move by thought. You're not moving by your physical body, it's by thought. So I immediately thought about my father who had passed. So all of a sudden I was in front of these big, huge golden gates, and there was this purple colored energy all around it. And one of the doors kind of like creaked open, and I just went right through it. And as soon as I went through that freaking gate, this wave of euphoria came over me like freaking crazy. And I'm like, Dad, where are you? And then
Wow.
boom, came out of it again. So
Wow. God, it's like probably ultimate peace. You don't have any of that
that's
noise.
a place that we
Wow.
can go. We got nothing to worry about. That's for sure.
That's good to
But
know.
spirits had actually told me that later on that I was taken there because of the work that I've done and the souls that I've helped, that I've assisted. So I guess that makes sense because I couldn't understand why was I taken to that place. I mean, it's weird. It's like people typically have that
You
experience when they
deserve
appear.
you deserve to go there. I mean, to be honest, look at all that you dealt with. I mean, if you didn't sense like and know something better existed, like I don't think you could do what you're doing.
Oh, I mean, I'd still be doing it, but I mean, it's
No,
nice
I
to
mean
have,
not that you would, but I mean such a
some
good
positive
place. I mean,
experiences
such a good
and all that
yes.
stuff. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a real challenge when you're surrounded by, yeah, a lot of dark things all the
Yeah,
time.
because you're still positive, you're still smiling. And, a lot of people, when they get so wrapped up into this, maybe if you hadn't seen that side of it, it's like there's depression, there's a lot of, self harm in the community itself just from picking up and people not properly cleansing themselves and, getting tied in. So you made it through so much of that. That's exciting that you did see that. And then you hold that hope for other people because that's got to be huge to tell other. It's like for me, I'm like, that's good. That's reassuring me that there's something better out there, and that just
There is.
just doesn't
Dude,
some
that was,
stimulation. I don't know.
I didn't want to go. I tell you, I didn't want to come back here. That's for damn sure. I mean,
Oh, wow.
it was just, it's the only way to explain it is just pulsating, pure love, peace, and acceptance. Just emanating, buzzing, electrical, like just like I was being like just electro, like
Charged,
Like I
probably.
put my finger in an electrical socket, and I was
Yeah.
just my whole being was being electrified, charged up with just pure energy of all those things, and just like wow, you know what I mean? So yeah,
Yeah, no, I had experience not like that, such a way, but I came back and I said it was like somebody gave me a jolt of electricity that I needed. It really changed, it kind of jump started things in your life. I think that it's definitely necessary. And I'm glad that, that's what you got from it. That's amazing. It really is. And
yeah.
then I really wanted to thank you so much for coming on and all of your time. Can you tell people again? And I'm looking forward as soon as and people in chat too. I'm looking too. We want that app out on the Android. I'm waiting to. I love stuff like that. I'm definitely and we'll keep up with you and get that put out there for promotion stuff so people know. But tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, please. I mean, go to my YouTube and watch my full episodes. You can really get an idea of like some of the adventures, these crazy cases that I've gone on trying to help people. Sean Austin Paranormal on YouTube. I have so many cases that I've filmed that I have to like edit and go through. I have so many cases that are coming up, but I got a really scary case I'm putting together. Hopefully in the next week or so. But yeah, watch my series Up Against Evil. There's 6 episodes now, as well as other full episodes that I've put on there that are all dark, creepy, cases of helping people. And yeah, look out for S.P.I on Android, and excited for everyone to see these new advances with that concept coming soon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's awesome, and music coming out too, an album. So that's
New album
that's.
too.
I'm really excited for you. How fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, more so hopefully you get some rest and rejuvenation. Before you go, I just again want to thank you. This has been absolutely amazing. Is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with?
Um,
I always ask people, and that's usually like, what kind of questions is this? Some people have said no. If you
No,
feel
I
moved to do so, go for
I
it.
appreciate everybody, listening to what I have to say. I know everyone's got different methods and manners of doing the paranormal, and I hope that you will check out, what I do and how I do things, and it resonates with you. I truly care and passionate about the paranormal, and I will continuously do what I can with everything I can to do just that. Do things that are positive and helping others while bringing spiritual awareness to the paranormal.
And we appreciate I know that this is very much a sacrifice in having some, normalcy in life. And I, for one, really appreciate all you do and your movement forward. We need people, we need good people. And I'm thankful that you're up there and you're doing that. So
Thank you.
that's amazing. Yeah. So I will let you go enjoy your weekend coming up. And again, thank you again. We've enjoyed it. Yeah. Yeah. So isn't Sean amazing? Like, oh gosh, just to be able to sit there. I mean, just can you imagine the intense experiences that would come with? I mean, unbelievable. So definitely check out I know that I saw Blazer. Thank you so much for putting the chat, and Diane and anybody else dropping the links. Definitely get over. If you look in the description, you'll be able to find his website, where to follow him on social media, and definitely show him our support, because these are the people with integrity that are genuine and authentic in their interactions and willing to literally, he's giving up a big part of his life. And if you're not really ever been in this, you don't really understand. It consumes your life. You can't just be like, okay, well, today I'm going to take 2 hours off from you can try. Good luck to you. But I really appreciate his efforts, and he's doing it with positivity still, and he's drawing that spiritual aspect in on this. So I applaud him. I really do. So yes, and everybody enjoy your weekend. And two, I want to start getting just for a little housekeeping, people in the chat. I'm going to set up half-hour interviews. So if this is you, I'm trying to get Benno. I haven't seen him in here. Benno, if you're hiding, and Blazer, definitely get you guys registered for 30-minute. We're just going to do a power Q&A back and forth. I think it'll be fun. That way everybody gets to know one another. So Thank you, everybody. Yes, thank you. I mean, without you, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. So let's help Sean and get his message out there. He's done big things and wonderful things. And again, be supportive and definitely cheer one another on. And so, on behalf of SNX Radio, thank you for taking the journey into the unknown. I'm Coley, also known as Coleyufo. And we're out of here for the night. So, on that note, everybody enjoy.
He said